All right. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Today is Ask Me Anything. I am Dr. Latoya. Oh, that's looking a little crazy there. I am Dr. Latoya, and I jump on every third Wednesday of the month to take questions from people. So here we are. It has been at the last Ask Me Anything, I was getting ready to go to Costa Rica. So I am back. That was a fabulous trip. I'll tell you all about that. But just a little bit about Ask Me Anything. You are free to drop questions in the chat that literally can be about anything metaphysical, spiritual, ancestral, Akashic record, energy. All of those things are kind of in my wheelhouse, and I love to talk about all things in that way. So you are welcome to ask questions like that. Once you are here, I would love if you would drop your name in the chat so that I can say hi. If you can hit the like button, that's also wonderful once you join. So yeah, that's where we are tonight. So I'll start with Costa Rica. So I held the Soul Wellness Retreat July 29th through August 3rd. So came back from there, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. There are so many things that I could say about Costa Rica, the people, the energy, just all of it. It was a really, really good experience. And I mentioned in the last one, if you didn't make it this time, definitely put it on your calendar. I will be doing it again, same time next year. Um, yeah, it was great, right? The participants saw really big shifts. One participant said that they got way more than they anticipated, way more than they were coming for. Hey, Sammy, you always have a new name. I mean, not always, but you have a lot of names. Hey, Sammy, glad you're here. I actually, so this is a side note. I was going to do it on Facebook. So Sammy is always on YouTube, and watching the videos and commenting and liking and sharing. And I want you to know that I see that, and I acknowledge that. And because of that, I wanted to gift you something for really just being a really, really good supporter. And not even just a supporter, because some people show up and they listen to the information and then they don't do anything with it, but for actually taking in the information and then trying to apply it. So I'll send you an email about it. I'm going to let you pick something that you want. But that is my way of saying thank you for always showing up, not only for me, but for yourself. So I appreciate it. For those of you who are jumping on now, if you want to drop your name in the chat so I can say hi, know who you are, I really like it. If you can hit the like button, that would be great. And if you're new in general, this is Ask Me Anything. So the way Ask Me Anything works is you are able to drop questions in the chat really about all things that are kind of in my wheelhouse, right? So energy healing, Akashic records, ancestor veneration, spirit guides, all of those things, right? So feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Hey, Petriana and Bliss. I love that name. Love that name. You are so very welcome. So tonight, upcoming event. I am hosting a free 4-day ancestral. It's called Breaking Ancestral Chains. That's probably not really the title. Let me see if I can Google it really quick. It's called Breaking Ancestral Chains. It's a free 4-day intensive that will run next week, Monday through Thursday. And essentially what we are going to be looking at, and I'm going to be walking you through to teach you, is how to, one, identify patterns, behaviors, or ways of being that are kind of showing up for you that aren't yours, right? There are a lot of times that we are acting out things that are not ours. They've been inherited, they've been passed down, they've been accepted through a multitude of ways. And sometimes we don't even recognize that that's actually what we're doing, and that those things are creating limitations for us. And so for me, although I offer those as, ancestral lineage healing sessions, I teach that modality as a certification process. I really just want people to be able to kind of tap in at a base level, right? Everybody doesn't have the means or the opportunity or even the desire, right, to come to me. Some people just really like to be self-guided, and that's fine too. So the intensive will be a really, really um will be a great experience, right? I think everything I do is great, but it will be a good experience that you can take the information and apply it. That's the important part, right? So you will be able to take information and apply it. All right, so it's free to register. Chi Healing Ancestors.com. Chi is CHI. Chi Healing Ancestors.com/intensive. All right, so it's free. We start next Monday. Be there. Hope to share energetic space with you all. So that's kind of my housekeeping stuff, right? Again, if anybody has questions, drop it in the chat. Until I see a question, I will talk about just some things that have been coming up. So yesterday, was it yesterday? Yesterday was Tuesday. Yesterday. So my birthday was on Saturday. Woohoo! Right? And one of the things that we do in our family is each year when your birthday comes, you set a goal, like you set goals that you state publicly, right? So the kids do it. And the reason we do this is one, so that people can hold you accountable, right? So at the end of that year, we get to come back and, you get to give a report on how you've done with getting those goals. The people that are in the community that hear you state those goals throughout the year can check in, be, hey, how's it going? What's this thing, right? So it's something that we do. So one of the things that I set for myself this year is to really be more present and be in the moment, right? I am such a mm, I'm a problem solver, right? The nature of my job is that, like, I have to always kind of be 3 and 4 steps ahead of situations because I have to be able to kind of curb them before they come. It's just a lot of things. So my nature is really not to be in the moment. But I'm realizing that the impact that that's kind of having on my um, one, nervous system, right, to the enjoyment that my kids have, all of that stuff. So one of the commitments that I made to myself this year was to be more in the moment, and to not deny myself experiences. So I went to the Beyonce concert, bought the ticket last minute because I was like, I want it, right? And so I'm going to go, I'm going to do it. So that happened. But if you've listened to me before, you know that I don't get outside readings, right? I pretty much I get my information from myself. But at my birthday, I go out and I get additional counsel, right? So typically I'll do a numerology reading, um, I'll receive an IFA reading, and then something else, right? So this year I did an astrology. I got an astrology reading. It's my first time getting an astrology reading. And I was prompted to do astrology because I saw so many similarities just in listening to people. I have a lot of clients who study different systems, so human design, astrology, all of that stuff. And so as I'm talking to them about their Akashic records, and things that I'm telling them, they're telling me stuff that's coming up for them astrologically. So I was like, let me go and get this a reading. So that was a whole bunch of background information to tell you this important part. We were talking about fear, right? Fear is something that I've talked about a lot, right? It's something that comes up in a lot of sessions. There are so many people who are destined, I don't know if I want to use that word, who have the propensity, right, to be great, to do great things, to show up in the world, to contribute in lots of magnanimous ways, right? For their community, for their family, for themselves, at their job, whatever it is. And oftentimes fear is that thing that prevents people from stepping into that fully. And fear can show up in a lot of different ways, right? Sometimes it's fear that we can identify, like we're very clear that the reason I'm not doing this is because I'm afraid. And then sometimes fear shows up in a way where we don't really know that it's fear, right? A lot of times we end up self-sabotaging ourselves because the underlying energy of that is fear. And so in this astrology reading, we were talking, and this thing of fear came up. And, I'm pretty transparent with you all about things with me. And so I definitely have fear around some of the ways that spirit suggests that I show up, right? Because the information that sometimes I download is like crazy. It's not crazy, it's real, it's realistic, right? But if I share that, people are like, wait, what? What's she talking about? So I sometimes have fear around that. But what she said, this is the point, and this is what I want you to take with you. What she said was, don't allow fear to let you discount your receipts. And I was like, I need to write that down. So I'm sharing that with you all, right? Don't allow fear to let you discount your receipts. What that means is you have the proof that you can do the thing, right? Even if it's at a different level, even if it's at the next, you know, the next level or the next thing, you still have the receipts that say something about these things that I've done in the past has given me the inclination that I can do this next thing in the future. Right. And oftentimes when we get into fear mode, we start to discount all of the things. Well, no, I can't do this because, or all this, right? And so we put the negative things in front, and not allowing fear to make you discount your receipt says, no, wait a minute, hold on. We're going to count the wins. We're going to put the wins up front. We're going to focus on the wins, and I'm going to have faith that I can bring those wins to a larger thing. Right. And I'm on team do it scared. Right. When we were in Costa Rica, this is funny. So I do not like bodies of water that I cannot see in. Right. I'm afraid that there are things floating and all of the stuff. So typically, if I can't see in the water, I don't want to get in the water. So we went to the hot springs in Costa Rica. And the first one, there are different hot springs, right? All at different temperatures. The first one that we got in, it was a little murky-ish, right? And I was like, I'm just gonna put my feet in because I couldn't see. There looked like things were floating around. And one of the other participants was like, we did not just drive 2 hours. We did not just drive 2 hours for you to put your feet in the hot springs. And I was like, I mean, I'm team do it scared, but I got to work up to it, right? I'm not going to just jump in, but I am going to get to it. So I say that to say it's okay to have fear. It is absolutely okay. It's natural, right? It's the body's way of trying to protect you. It's the ego's mind job to be like, wait a minute, hold on, let's not rock the boat. Let's keep this homeostasis happening, right? Um, but do it anyway. And the way that some people are just rip the band-aid off. I'm gonna put my feet in. Okay, then I'm gonna go to my knees. Okay, wait, I ain't die. Okay, nothing bit me with my feet. Okay, now let me put my bottom in, right? So then I can build it up. And by the end, I was in there. It was great. There were no problems. But do it anyway, right? Do it scared, and don't let fear allow you to discount your receipts. All right. Sammy, yes, I am a Leo. Um, I'm a Leo. So that's my thing on fear. All right. So that's one thing that's been coming up. And y'all know if I don't get questions, then I don't stay long. So I'll just bring up one more topic. And then if I don't have, thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah. If I don't have questions, then I will. Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is the next thing I want to talk about is sorry, I was going one place and we're going to go someplace different. The aspect of I've brought up before this notion of soulmates, right? We've talked about soulmates. We've talked about what's the other thing? Twin flames. Um, just other various ways that souls can kind of choose to be and exist. Today, I want to talk a little bit about. So sometimes when I say someone, you made this choice as a soul, that can hit hard, right? Some of our lives are um, hectic or hard or chaotic. And it's like, what do you mean I made this choice, right? Why would I choose to be born into this family? Why would I choose this particular thing? Why did I choose that experience? There are a lot of ways that I could take that answer. And it happens for a multitude of reasons, right? But what I want to talk about is what happens at soul level. So we're hanging out in the ethers right before we choose to come back here and live a new life. And while we're hanging out and, deciding who we are going to incarnate through, right? So picking our parents, we are privileged at soul level. We are privileged with the information, um, the information about the parents' journey as it is happening right then. So sometimes, let's say, um, I chose, not, let me not use me. um, Bob chose to incarnate through these two parents and through the lens of what Bob was able to see at soul level. These two parents were going to be on track to do A, B, C, D, E, and F, right? What happens though is both parents still have freedom of choice, right? Just like one of the greatest gifts that you have as a person who's incarnated into a physical body is the freedom of choice, the freedom to make choices, the freedom to change, the freedom to explore. Your whole purpose here is to have experiences and to live life in that particular way. That same thing applies for those parents, right? So sometimes parents, either parent, I'm just using them as the collective, right? But one parent or the other can make a choice that isn't necessarily still in alignment with what that original kind of trajectory was that you saw when you chose that parent, right? Sometimes, life happens. So we were trudging. Yes, we were good. We were in alignment. Something happened. Parent made some new choices, and now they're splintering off, and all of these other possibilities are occurring, right? Your choice to incarnate through that parent at that time with those circumstances was based on, I like to say, all things remaining the same, right? Was based on, this is the trajectory. These are the probable choices that the parent is going to make. And this looks like a good fit and a good choice for me. That's one way, right? Then there are just some people who absolutely choose at soul level to incarnate into experiences that are going to be difficult or counter or hard because there is a lesson that that soul wants to have. There's an experience that that soul wants to go through. There's also a lot of times people who choose to incarnate into situations where they have bad childhoods is at soul level, kind of their larger purpose and mission in life is to shift or change humanity. And so at soul level, they choose to basically have this experience so that they understand, so that when they break from that or, move through it, then they have the experience. It's like almost, I want to be poor. So when I become rich, I can experience it. Right. So that's why if you look at like a lot of, and I'm making very broad generalizations here. Okay. So let me put that out there. But when you look at some of the larger people like Till Swan, even Carolyn Mice, like they've all had these traumatic things, right? So probably if you look in their records, they chose at soul level to be born into those types of experiences so that on the other side of that, they have a story to tell. People lock in, people can follow them, right? So that's my thing. So one, you could choose to be born into a situation because at soul level, you need something in that experience, right? You need to either learn how to stand up for yourself, how to, whatever that is. Or it could be a thing of your parent was at a particular vibrational frequency when you made that choice, but due to freedom of choice, and that parent's ability to also choose things for them, their life, they chose a different path. So that's kind of a big picture overview there. Question: how can I learn? This is from Bliss. How can I learn to access Akashic Records for myself? Um, well, Bliss. Um, do I have any coming up? Hmm. I offer classes. So I'm going to start there, right? I have a book. Do I have a book in here? I don't have a book in here. I don't have a book in here. I have a book on Amazon. It's like 15.99, I think, or something like that. It's a journal and a workbook that walks you through the process essentially that I used to teach when I taught my online or the virtual classes. So there's that. Then I also have like I think it's $89 or $88 um, beginning kind of just learning how to access the records for yourself. It's an online course. It's like 3 modules. It has an attunement, very clear instructions on how to access it. And then I have a much longer program that goes in depth, accessing records for yourself, for others, really teaching you how to phrase questions, maneuver, move throughout the records. Right. So that's, I'm going to start there. Right. And then often, sometimes I also offer free, like workshops on accessing the Akashic Records. I don't currently have one set. I don't have one kind of planned out or the next date for when I will be doing one. But if you are not on my mailing list, then get on the mailing list and just watch out for when that next one comes up. If you want the free option, so you can do that. Outside of that, um, outside of that, there are a multitude of ways to access the Akashic Records, right? There are prayer processes. Um, People can access the records through meditation. People can access the records through intention, right? If you are good with kind of just understanding energy and the different layers and where things are metaphysically, you can absolutely just enter the records in that particular way. So there are a multitude of ways that you can access the records. The records are accessible to everyone, right? So you don't have to have a special skill set or be a particular type of person or anything like that to be able to access the records. It is universal information and knowledge, and you just have to be able to sync up with that particular energetic frequency. All right, so I hope that answered your question. Talk about rushing and when the time is right. Give me a little bit more on that, Sammy. All right. um Sammy says, right, I really do see myself as an evolved version of my parents. Did we get a preview of our grandmas? That's what I'm really questioning right now. I don't know. You know what? No one has ever asked me about their grandmother. And I can't say that I've ever given it any thought. So if I was to tell you something right now, it would be strictly just what I'm going to come up with, because I've literally never had that question or thought of it in any type of way. So if something pings that's like not my own thought in the context of this, I'll come back and talk about it. All right. Um, is it beneficial to use the Akashic Records when you are actively going through a challenging time? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. So I don't know, I know that people follow me from all different places and time frames. Some people are new, some people are old. Um, but when my nephew committed suicide, um, that was really, really rough for me, right? That was really rough for a multitude of reasons. One, because his energy had popped up on my head a little bit, like a few days before that, to call. And it was like 2 in the morning when he kind of popped in my head. And I was like, oh, I'll check in later. Right. So there was guilt around that. Then there was guilt because I have helped many people. Um, I've had many clients who were in the position where they have either tried to unalive themselves, um, or were in that process, and I've been able to help them, and they're all now doing great and living. So I felt really bad that I couldn't do that for my own nephew, right? And so for a minute, I completely shut down. Like it was really difficult for me to function, and what allowed me to shift was going into the Akashic Records, right? Because remember, one of the reasons or one of the ways that we can use the Akashic Record is to really get a soul level view of why something is happening, right? It takes away the personal, right? It takes away the personal aspect of it, right? It takes away the feelings and the judgment and all of that, right? It is really giving you the view of information from this standpoint that you are divinely and perfectly made, right? And because you are divinely and perfectly made, the information that you're going to receive is upholding that divinity, right? Is upholding that divinity and helping you understand again why you're in this situation. So kind of going back to that, why I chose those parents, right? Why I'm in this situation, what choices am I making? What thing is the soul trying to get me to learn? So by going into the records when you're having a difficult time, what I would offer is one, that we're definitely not going in the position of victim, right? But that we're going and we're using the Akashic Records to find that empowerment and to find that empowerment so that we can move forward. So that's one. From an information standpoint, I find that going in the Akashic Records when I'm having a difficult time just allows me to get a perspective on the information in a way that removes my ego self, right? That removes the emotion, that removes the all of the things that we show up with as people. Okay. Two, there's also the energetic healing component of it, right? So if you've not taken my class, one of the things we talk about, one of the benefits of the Akashic Records is that it is an actual energetic field. And because it is an actual energetic field that vibrates at a much higher frequency, right, than we do here in our everyday life, in order for us to access it, we begin to raise our vibration, right? The more we access it, the higher the vibration just naturally becomes. But even when we're in it for however long, right? We're kind of recalibrating and reshifting kind of our energetic body and our frequency. So just by going in the Akashic Records, even if we're not asking questions, right? Even if we're not trying to get those understandings, we are able to shift our energetic frequency. And so yes, the that was the long answer to say when we are having difficult times is when I say go into the records more, right? Is when you need to go in there more. Um, and sometimes we don't know what to ask, right? Sometimes when we are in a particular place, when we're in a way, it is difficult for us to figure out kind of even what I need to know, right? And so the task of thinking, now I have to go into these records and I have to be able to come up with a question and be able to navigate that. Sometimes that can be overwhelming, right? But what we need to know and trust and do is that the records, remember, energy follows intention, right? And there is absolutely nothing wrong with accessing your records, showing up in the records and saying, I don't know what I need right now, but I know that I need something to help shift me from where I am right now, right? Energetically, I feel boom, 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 boom. Mentally, I am boom, 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 boom. Whatever this is. What is it that I need to know? What is it that I need to do? Where is it that I need to be, right? In order to shift this. So you're not going in with a specific question, but you're going in with a very clear intention. And the intention is to come out differently. Okay. So I'm going to offer that you try that. Okay. And even if it is, like I said, just open the records and ask for your frequency or your kind of energetic body to be elevated and be uplifted. I'm actually getting that. Yeah, there is a it's not like the mind is doing a lot. I mean, those things are happening too, but there's kind of an energetic fatigue around the body, that is making So if you don't, again, I see energy. That's kind of what I do. So the vibrational field off of the body right now, yeah, is like sluggish, for the lack of a better word, right? So a little sluggish. Um, and so asking for that clearing, that shedding, that removing things, also just kind of doing things that you know to do that clean the energy field, right? Baths, wash. I'm also really big on just words of power, right? Intention. So stating things, being out in the sun, although it's like 110 degrees, so be careful. Right, drink your water and be careful. Good music, right? All of those things are really important. All right, so I hope that was helpful. Knowing when to use our time and effort. So, I think that's a personal, I'm sorry, that is a personal, like, was it, it's in business, time value of money, right, is one of the things, is one of the ideas or concepts that you learn in kind of business, right? Time value of money basically says, and we're going to take it away from the money, but it's basically like, if I give this much time, energy, effort, right, the thing that I'm going to get back, is it worth it? And the difficulty in answering that is because everybody's worth it is different, right? Some people, the worth it is financial. Some people, the worth it is, at the end of the day, I'm going to get to sit down, relax, and chill. I mentioned that for me, going into this year, my goal, or the thing that I've set as my intention for the year, is being present in the moment, right? Because before, I was doing a lot of work and it was great, the rewards. I definitely don't have any, like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out on the payoff. But the thing that was missing is like, I see the lack of enjoyment in my kids, because I'm always going to the next thing and they just want to be here in the moment, sit here doing nothing, right? So that became an internal choice that I had to make. So I can't tell you, um when to use your time and your effort. That is, you have to evaluate for yourself what you value, right? What you value, and then what you value would absolutely determine how you use your time and your effort. I'm gonna put this in a real life example, right? So we know that I used to do a lot of readings, individual Akashic record readings, right? When I first started, I mean, I was doing many, many, many a day. Energetically, it got to the point where that didn't feel good, right? I absolutely love giving people information. I absolutely love the response when people were getting the information. I absolutely love seeing the transformation. But there became a point where the energetic trade-off for me was no longer worth the value that I was seeing over here. So I had to make an adjustment, right? I had to put parameters in place to say, now where can I find this new happy medium, or this new equilibrium? And for me, that's always changing. And so, again, this is just going to go back, but typically you have a knowing inside. We always have a knowing, right? The soul always knows, absolutely always knows, and is always trying to get you to that thing and place of alignment, right? And then we allow ourselves to come in and talk ourselves out of that spiritual aspect of whatever the information is. Listen to the internal voice, right? If you're on the email list, I sign everything off, have a soul-led day, right? Listen to that and trust that, and know that that aspect of you is never going to steer you wrong. If that aspect of you is saying, we should put our time and our energy right here, then we're going to put our time and our energy right here, right? If it's like, I don't know, just because everybody else said this is a good use of time, that might not be the best use of time. All right. Female love language and needs. Yeah, that's really it, right? Is you have to figure that out for yourself. All right. Yes. So, any other questions for me? I do always enjoy coming to hang out and talk with y'all. Um, and normally I just pop up, right? Tonight I was like, wait, let me send an email, let me post it. But here I am. So if you are, oh, great. If the records energetically is a place for energizing, how did that happen? How? Yes. So divinely Sarah, yes, you just type your questions in the chat and I'll answer them in the chat. Generally moving forward, let's say sometimes people know they can't make it live, but they might have a question. You can inbox me ahead of time. And I also take questions that I get ahead of time and I will answer them on the live if you're not able to drop them in the chat. All right. So, Josie, can you rephrase the question for me? I'm going to answer it how I am thinking. But if the records are if the records energetically is a place for energizing, how did that happen? So I'm gonna say how I think you're asking it. And if I'm wrong, um, oh, okay. So the question is, I just talked about how when I was doing so many readings, how did it become draining for me if the records are energizing? The reason I could do so many readings was because I do not get drained when I am in the Akashic Records, right? I can go and even if I'm really tired, which has happened a lot, even if I'm really tired before a session, once I get in it, I absolutely do not feel it. But when I come out of it, right? When I come out of it, after I've done so many, I'm still a human, right? I'm still in a human body. The total toll of that for me is a lot. Like I was doing like 7 readings. I was really in the beginning because me doing this wasn't something that I started out to do. So it wasn't a business, it wasn't a thing, right? It was just one person and another person, and here I was on my phone booking, and then I look up one day, I'd be like, dang, and here's another one, and here's another one. So because of that, because there weren't parameters or anything like that in place, I just wore myself out, right? There was also the mental aspect of um just staying on top of it. So, even though we're doing readings and we're doing the session, when you're doing it at that capacity, there's still a lot of other things that are going in the middle. There's the follow up, there's the am I sending you the right things? There's all of that. So that was just really draining for me. But for me, in the records, I do not get tired. I can be in the records all day and that energy will absolutely sustain me through the entire time that I need to be in the records. Is there a way to ask Akashic record questions before sleep with an expectation to lucid dream? I would ask, so before sleep is a wonderful time to ask questions, and you don't necessarily need to do it through the Akashic records, right? So what happens when we're sleeping is our soul leaves the body and starts exploring, right? Okay. Our soul leaves the body and starts exploring and doing other things and going places and visiting other parts of ourselves and other dimensions and all of these things. And also, as a part of that, each night, our soul should, some people have issues with kind of completing full cycles of sleep. But as a part of that, each night, our once the soul leaves, we should absolutely return back or connect, I should say, not return back, but connect with what word we will use today. We'll go with source energy, kind of the plug. Let's think of it wherever the main energy source is for you, right? We should go back to that each night to kind of recharge, reset, to come back the next day and be up, right? But because the soul is absolutely leaving the body and traveling and doing all of those things, I think before bed is the absolute perfect time to give directions to my soul, right? So before I go to sleep each night, I say what I want the soul to do while I'm sleeping. Sometimes that is, hey, I want you to go and connect with the highest aspect of myself and tell me boom, 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 right? Dang, I'm having this problem. There's a situation while I'm sleeping. I need you to go and meet the version of me in another dimension that has already figured this thing out and bring me back that information. Right. So setting that intention for how the question, whatever question that you want to have answered while you're sleeping. I do though, I'm team give it, like, you can't just ask the question, because I could ask the question and my grandma could show up and answer it, right? And although I greatly appreciate the perspective that my grandmother might give me, what I might want is another level of, interpretation or something for that particular question. So I say that in giving the direction for what you want your soul to do, also attach it to the energy that you are sending it to kind of get that information from. The reason I say you don't need to open the Akashic Records to do that before you go to sleep is because essentially all the Akashic Record is that meeting place where all things are possible, right? It is that kind of chunk or space where past, present, and future are kind of all there happening at the same time. When you're sleeping, the soul is just free to move about the cabin, right? So it is not bound to our linear thinking of time. It is not bound to this little false matrix that we are a part of. It is not participating in the holographic images that are coming, right? It's not doing that. So the soul already has the ability to go past, present, future. It already has the ability to move dimensionally, to see all aspects of you in whatever version of you it needs to be in. So just set the intention, ask the question that you want to ask, and allow the soul to kind of do that while you are sleeping. And if you want to remember it, you might have to say, and I want to remember the information, when I wake up or something like that. Typically, though, when that happens, you do want to have something like close by to write on, because when we wake up and then the soul kind of fully integrates back into the body, sometimes that information goes really, really quickly. All right. How do I cleanse my energetic field after reading? So I make, you're very welcome. I make a spray, an aura cleanse spray that I use and that I keep. So that's one way. Selenite is another thing that I absolutely love. Let's see if I have a piece, I can show you how I use the selenite. Selenite is okay. We'll just use this one. Oh wait, here's a one. Selenite is this one's one, but I don't use this type for cleaning myself. Selenite is really inexpensive crystal to have, right? It is a wonderful clearer of energy. Typically, I will also just kind of have this at my station when I am doing readings, but a very easy way to kind of just in general. So not even necessarily after a reading, but a really easy way to kind of clean your energetic field after a reading, or when you just feel like you need to clean, but a lot of people, whatever, is you kind of just take the wand and you just kind of go right down yourself. If I was doing this for real, I would have set the intention, right? Set some type of statement about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, right? And just kind of see myself go and do that really quickly, right? Visually, sometimes we don't have physical things or physical tools, right? But we can always call that energy into ourself, through our mind, right? One of the universal laws, all is mental, right? So we can absolutely call that stuff into our mind's eye and see that happen. Another good way is a good old fashioned washing your hands with soap and water. cool water and some soap, right? You can use, like, I love Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap. Not only so, sometimes I think we make things really, really complicated, right? But if we start to think about the ingredients of things and why this thing is there, it's some soap with some essential oil, essentially, right? Essential oil is just the essence of this particular herb. And so I'm going to bring these two things together to kind of clear myself. As I'm washing my hand, I'm telling the water that I'm clearing, I'm releasing things, as I see the water going down the drain, I'm saying things like, this energy can no longer attach to me, that type of thing. So that's how I clear myself. But generally I just have, this one's all, it's like nothing in here, but I just have a spray that I had a company called She Essence, and I make an aura cleanse spray, and so I just spray it around. Let's see. Sammy said, like, having a reading with you is like you really be in my head and spirit. Yes, that's a talent. I've been doing this for a long time. And because I follow energy, right? Once you understand, we actually talked about this in my Akashic Mastery program the other day. Once you understand that all things are energy, the way you're able to move and maneuver space is drastically different, right? So the part of the reason that I'm so effective at the things that I do is because I understand that everything is energy, right? And so really everything is just a matter of me figuring out how to align to a particular energetic frequency, right? So when I'm working with somebody, it is expanding my space in order to become an energetic match so that I can receive information in a particular way. Hey, Deshay. I had a personal question that you just answered. Great. Got to start using the journal more. Yes, the journal is great, y'all. It gives you the prayer to access the records. The Akashic Record Journal gives you the prayer to access the records. It gives you kind of context of what they are, how to use them, and then a 21-day kind of guided process, right? There's the email link in there to do the attunement. So it's a really good journal. What's your preferred way to cleanse and charge crystals, by moonlight or sunlight? I feel like there's a different energy when charging by moonlight versus sunlight. I actually do not do either. I did, though, used to do both. It really depends on the crystal. Some crystals are sun crystals, right? So amber is a sun crystal. Sunstone is a sun crystal, right? So it's like, why would you charge those things in the moon? Because their energy radiates with the sun, right? So I tend to live life in a way that is very practical, right? It's like 1 + 1 has to be 2, right? It can't be 567 because that just doesn't make sense. I mean, it could be, but why would I try to figure that out? Like, I'm going to do the simplest version of what makes sense, what feels aligned, what feels practical. Like, I don't need to try to, overcomplicate things. So going back to this notion that all things are energy, once you understand the energy, then like all of the other things begin to make sense. So with crystals, and I had a whole series, I used to do videos. I used to do Tip Tuesday. And on Tip Tuesday, I would kind of always talk about a crystal and kind of give tips and things about the crystals. And one of the things that I talked about, or when working with crystals, is understanding how the crystal was formed. Like, what were the conditions? Because then that gives you a really good indicator on how to use that particular energy from the crystal. Ways that crystal can kind of show up. So I'm just going to use amber, for example, right? So amber is the sap of a tree, right? It's been hardened and all of that whole process. So if you're thinking about what's the energy of this particular thing, it's the resin that came as a form of protection, to protect the tree, all of those things. So like, if I understand how the crystal is made, Now, even if I never read a crystal book, or if I never studied all of the thousands of things that people say that this crystal is at baseline, this is how this crystal shows up in nature. So, in order to be in, it's very easy to just kind of fall in alignment if I just do the things in the way that it shows up in nature, right? And then it'll tell me other things and other ways to use it. But yes, can I drop the link for the journal? Yes. Let me let me work on that one. Um, and spray. Yeah, so I used to sell my company was it was Chi Essence. Um, I did sprays, spray mist, body scrubs, essential oil roll-ons, and bath salts. And they were all Reiki and crystal infused, and dealt with particular things. The challenge became shipping. Shipping, right? It was so going back to your previous thing of time and effort. I absolutely love making the products. Clients absolutely love the products. But it was like I had to be beholden to being here if I wanted to be a good business, right? Because a large order could come in and I could be traveling and be intending to be gone for 2 weeks. So how am I going to ship this out? And so it became like not really worth it for me anymore. And so now I tend to sell them at like events, right? If I'm going someplace and I know that there'll be people, I'll make them, I'll take them, I'll sell them. I still have some clients who, or past customers who like still call me for like the Chi Aura Cleanse. That's the aura spray that I was talking about. And I have an Ancestral linkage spray, and a Love Me All Over body scrub that people are still like, can I get this? And I make it, right? Shipping is just not my fun place. It's not my happy place. Um, All right. So let me drop the link for the journal. And if you all don't know, I also have, oh, I didn't tell this story. Yes, let me do this. So in Costa Rica, I don't do multitasking well. Okay, there's a link for the journal. In Costa Rica, there was this other family. There was a mother and a daughter that were there. They were German. The um, daughter was in college and she was on like, break. So they had come to basically they were traveling Costa Rica together for like 2 weeks while the daughter was on break. And on that trip to the hot springs, the mother was sitting in one of the hot springs with me, and the mother said, did you write a book? And I was like, yeah, but I don't know why you would know the book because again, they're German, right? Um, have so that's my thing. That's where I am. Like, yeah, no, but I don't know why you would know the book. And she's like, well, my daughter is in college, and she said that she thinks that the professor mentioned your book. I was like, yeah, no, I really don't think so. I was like, I have some affirmation journals, some affirmation coloring books, and then my area of study for my dissertation or for my doctorate degree. I really don't think that y'all are going to be studying that over in Germany because my area of study is African diasporic dance forms and music and building community around that, right? So I was like, I really don't see why she would know that I have a book. And she was like, no, she said when she saw your name on the board for the trip today, that it looked really familiar. And I was like, well, okay, I don't know. So I just really pushed it to the side. Like, there is no way that they know me. The next day, I saw the daughter at breakfast and I was like, hey, your mom said that she thought, or that she wanted to know if I wrote a book. And I was like, yeah, but I don't think that'd be anything that you know. And she was like, no, when I saw your name, I Googled you and you are the person. And I was like, well, she was a psychology major. Short version of this story is her professor, although I've already made it long, her professor, um, they were studying different paths that you can go into psychology. Right. And so again, I'm still like, I do metaphysical things, right? So that has absolutely nothing to do with psychology. And she was like, no, but he put your book up on the board as a reference if there was for us to go and look at if we wanted to kind of go as para parapsychology or something like that. Just other avenues. And I was like, oh my gosh. Right. So that was my like when something like you never know, right? You never know the impact, the reach. You never know. So going back to my original thing of do it scared, right? I was absolutely terrified to put that book out because I ain't never like what, right? Who wants this? All of those things. Nobody's going to buy this. All of those things go through your mind. And here I am in Costa Rica with this German girl and her mom talking about that the professor put my book up for the class as a point of reference for an area that they could study within psychology. So you never know your impact, right? Show up, don't judge the inspiration, follow the inspiration. You never know where it's going to turn up or how it's going to turn out. So that was my like feel good moment in Costa Rica, right? The participants and their growth, that was definitely feel good, but that was like so unexpected for me. So that's all I got, y'all. Um, any final questions before we go? So again, if you want the journal, it's in the chat. Also have, like I mentioned, 3 affirmation books, and I'm working on the actual full Akashic Record book right now. So I hope to finish that by the beginning of September. So it's a full thing, right? Like if you were in one of my classes or one of my programs. So it's all of the information. But then I would still suggest that you get the journal to go with it. But yep. All right, y'all. Have a great night. So third Wednesday of the month is when I do Ask Me Anything. So hope to see y'all in a month. Next week, the 21st through the 24th, is the free 4-day Breaking Ancestral Chains Intensive. So feel free to sign up for that. I'll put the link for that as well. Chi Healing ancestors.com/intensive. Oh, great. Thank you. Bless. So that's a free 4-day intensive. Stop by, get the information, apply the information. Love to see y'all. Have a great night. Talk to you later. Bye.